President Trump making his first public appearance since ordering military action against Iran. I'm Atra El-Nashar with what he said about how long it could last.
Local communities are on high alert following Operation Epic Fury, the security measures the Jewish community has in place out of precaution. And an emergency landing for a flight out of Tallahassee.
The only thing that either one of us could even think about was never getting to see our 5.5-month-old son again.
What a passenger says happened as smoke started filling the cabin. Honoring a man who spent decades giving back to those in Leon County.
I love my community, I love his people, and I love the opportunity to have served in an elected position.
The tribute you'll see as you drive downtown.
This is your Fox 49 News at 10.
In his first public appearance since U.S.-Israeli strikes on Iran, President Trump says combat operations will continue, possibly long past the military's original 4 to 5 week timeline. So far, the Pentagon has confirmed 4 American service members have been killed and says more casualties are expected. Tonight, we've got some team coverage of this big story, including local response to the operation. We'll start with the latest on this with national correspondent Atra El-Nashar.
Monday, Americans hearing from a commander-in-chief bracing for a long fight.
Whatever the time is, it's okay. Whatever it takes, we will always, and we have right from the beginning, we projected 4 to 5 weeks, but we have capability to go far longer than that.
As much of America is anxious about another prolonged war in the Middle East, President Trump explains his objectives.
First, we're destroying Iran's missile capabilities. Second, we're annihilating their navy. We've knocked out already 10 ships. They're at the bottom of the sea. Third, we're ensuring that the world's #1 sponsor of terror can never obtain a nuclear weapon.
And he says end Iranian support for outside terrorist proxies. The president suggests U.S. operations may not be limited to naval and air forces. Trump tells the New York Post, "I don't have the yips with respect to boots on the ground. Like every president says there will be no boots on the ground. I don't say it." In these first days of war, the Trump administration working to control the message behind what it's about and why they believe force is justified.
This is not a so-called regime change war, but the regime sure did change. Iran was building powerful missiles and drones to create a conventional shield for their nuclear blackmail ambitions.
Iran has a message of their own as they launch counterattacks. The country's top national security official Ali Larijani says Iran, unlike the United States, has prepared itself for a long war. Iranian strikes aimed at Israel and U.S. military bases across the Middle East. Civilian buildings and infrastructure have also been targeted or hit, like this airport in Dubai and these explosions over the skies of Doha. The Pentagon confirms more U.S. military personnel and fighter jets are deploying to the Middle East and says Central Command is actively assessing its needs. At the White House, I'm Atra El-Nashar.
There were protests in Tallahassee this weekend. A group called Freedom Road Socialist Organization gathered at the state capitol Saturday, criticizing the U.S.-Israeli attack on Iran. The group also called Israel a terrorist state. Fox 49's Jayla Howard tonight telling us the Jewish community is on alert.
Synagogues are reinforcing security measures, not out of panic, but out of precaution. Leaders at Congregation Shomrei Torah tell me moments like this weekend's attacks prompt heightened awareness within their congregation. Over the past few years, the synagogue has implemented security measures, including 24/7 surveillance and bullet-resistant windows. Since the October 7, 2023 attack on Israel, they've had increased security, adding full-time armed security. Leadership says they consistently emphasize situational awareness, especially during times of global tension. A synagogue representative tells me there is currently no local threat. They routinely receive updates from the Florida Department of Law Enforcement and other terrorism prevention agencies about potential threats. In Tallahassee, Jayla Howard, your Fox 49 News.
The representative tells us all services will go on as scheduled. A Tallahassee to Dallas flight early Sunday morning was interrupted mid-flight as smoke filled the plane's cabin, forcing an emergency landing in Pensacola. One passenger described a chaotic scene inside the plane as 81 passengers and crew scrambled for safety after the plane landed. Fox 49's Nick Carmia reports on the frightening evacuation on the runway.
An American Airlines flight departing from Tallahassee was in the air for about 30 minutes when passengers were told the plane would have to make an emergency landing in Pensacola.
Emergency aircraft 7 miles out.
The only thing that either one of us could even think about was never getting to see our 5.5-month-old son again.
Jared Everett and his wife say the trouble started when the lights and air conditioning suddenly shut off, and emergency lights came on inside the cabin. A short time later,
And I turn around and look, and I see smoke starting to fill the cabin.
handing out wet rags to help passengers breathe. He says flight attendants announced they would be landing in Pensacola within 15 minutes. Fire trucks were waiting on the runway. Here's a live feed from emergency responders.
Visual approach, runway 17, smoke on the cockpit.
And after touchdown,
The pilot came on and said, evacuate, evacuate, evacuate. So we bust out the plane.
Everett, a former volunteer firefighter, says he was helping people get off the plane as some passengers stood on the wings, unsure how to get down.
It's always a risky evolution to evacuate an aircraft, particularly on a runway. Fortunately, there were no injuries, and that's really a testament to our crews that were out there.
Now, we've reached out to American Airlines for comment about what caused the reported smoke in the cabin. In Tallahassee, Nick Carmia, your Fox 49 News.
The passenger we spoke with today says he was given a $12 meal voucher and flight points to use on a future American Airlines flight. Tenant after tenant loaded up U-Haul trucks today after Tallahassee fire officials shut down an apartment complex. Today was the deadline for people to move out of the Terra Lake Heights apartments. Fire officials saying it's just not safe. Fox 49's James Hill joining us now. And James, many of these residents are homeless tonight with nowhere to go, really.
Right, Melanie, it is a sad situation to see many people trying to figure out where they will lay their heads tonight.
Teron Edie worked nonstop today loading furniture, clothing, and other items into U-Haul trucks. He said it's what neighbors do.
It's been a very tiring day.
People living in the Terra Lake Heights apartments on Pullen Road had no choice. A recent inspection by the Tallahassee Fire Department determined the 160 units were not safe to live in. Smoke alarms and sprinkler systems were not in working condition. A sign at the complex said it all. Dangerous building. Angela Ambers is a mom to 6 young children. She's lived here for a year. She has no idea where she will live next.
So it's hard to find a 4-bedroom in Tallahassee, and then now that I found a 4-bedroom, I gotta wait to get approved.
We reached out to the owners of the complex, Tarantino Properties, based in Houston. We were sent to voicemail. We wanted to ask the following questions. How were conditions allowed to get so bad? Are you planning to put tenants up in another property? Tarantino, according to records, also owns the Oasis Apartments on Old Bainbridge Road. Remember Teron Edie, who we introduced you to at the top of this story? Well, he's also homeless tonight. While helping others move out, he finds himself forced out as well.
I've been helping people all day long, and then at the end of at crunch time, you know, I'm rushing to get my stuff together. I haven't even truly packed. I just threw all my stuff in bags and threw it in a U-Haul that I was blessed with, and I don't know, that may be, that U-Haul right there may be my place of residence for a little bit.
Now, people living in the Terra Lake Heights apartments were giving 10 days notice to move out. Reporting in the newsroom, I'm James Hill with your Fox 49.
Romance scams on the rise, and they're attacking the most vulnerable. The warning from investigators in tonight's Spotlight on America.
We have a chance to see a total lunar eclipse tomorrow morning. I've got the exact time that you can expect that and what the sky condition will be like.
You're watching your Fox 49 News at 10 with Melanie Levy and meteorologist Alan Strom.
New information tonight on a story we first broke in 2018. A D.C. area man had his identity stolen and used by criminals to dupe dozens of women out of money in an elaborate romance scheme. Now, as Lisa Fletcher reports, we've learned criminals are operating the identical scam in expanded territory.
In 2018, we met a man whose life had been turned upside down.
I was getting cards and letters and phone calls, and I knew I had a serious problem.
Pat Marsh, an airshow jet pilot, unfazed by the speed of sound, was blindsided by a scheme that used his stolen identity to lure unsuspecting women looking for love online.
We've got a dozen victims on this table, and I know that I've spoken or communicated with at least 50. There's got to be 500 victims there's got to be 500 victims just with me.
It was all part of an elaborate romance scam. Criminals had Marsh's name, address, birthday, background, and professional details, and were using it to create fake profiles on dating sites. One victim, Pam Dodds, told us how fake Pat Marsh convinced her she had found the love of her life.
There was, a chemistry, a connection that was made.
They exchanged thousands of texts and even had phone calls, but it was all a lie, a carefully constructed ploy to gain her trust and ultimately her money.
First it was 1,000, then he needed 12,000. And then he needed 37,000.
The criminal was just minutes away from stealing Dodd's life savings when the real Pat Marsh intervened, warning her and her family that she was being scammed. The bank was able to freeze the funds that were in the process of being transferred. Others were not so lucky. When we first did this story in 2018, the FBI estimated counterfeit online Romeos were responsible for stealing more than $300 million. Today, that tally is well over $1 billion, with organized crime at the heart of it all.
We're talking about a decade's worth of victims here.
South Carolina detective Eric Gillespie reached out 7 years after our original story aired. Con men were operating the same scheme and still using Pat Marsh's persona to lure unsuspecting women.
So once we started digging into everything is when I realized that the Patrick Marsh moniker had been used for far longer than just what we were looking at here.
In fact, Gillespie is investigating more than 60 Pat Marsh cases across the U.S. He says the fact that Marsh is a real person is part of what makes the scam work so well.
Almost every single one that I've talked to has said that they, I did my due diligence. I went online, so I thought that I'd done my homework. And every time I've had to tell them, like, yeah, you did. Patrick Marsh is a real person. He is a real guy. The person that you were speaking with is not him, though.
Gillespie says average losses for romance scam victims are $19,000, but for those over 60, it's $83,000.
It's embarrassing. It's really embarrassing to be taken advantage of. But when you open your heart to someone, that's where you kind of get blindsided.
For Spotlight on America, I'm Lisa Fletcher.
If you have been or you think you might be involved in a romance scam, report it to police. Go to spotlightinvestigates.com and we'll give you the links plus some red flags that you can watch out for.
First warning weather. Here is Chief Meteorologist Alan Strom.
All right, here's something cool. Tomorrow morning, we've got a total lunar eclipse that you can catch. The totality begins at around 6 a.m. and ends at around 7. Also, 7 is sunrise, so the best time to catch this would be closer to 6 a.m. if you do want to check it out, so you can look for the moon. And a total lunar eclipse is when Earth is between the sun and the moon, so the Earth's shadow is cast upon the moon. So good stuff for tomorrow morning. Hopefully the fog, though, doesn't become a factor in that if you do want to catch the eclipse, because we're looking at the possibility of some foggy weather developing around the area. It's certainly possible with this warm, humid weather pattern we're in right now. It's all dry, though. That's radar late tonight showing dry weather. The rain, you have to look way up toward the Carolinas and the mid-Atlantic region. That's where we're seeing some rain. We got a nice little flow just kind of coming out of the east here around the area that we're checking out at this time. So Pretty calm conditions and pretty similar weather expected throughout the week. So our futurecast shows first thing tomorrow morning, some cloud cover and or fog in the area. Look for that. But overall, we'll get a good dose of sunshine tomorrow with just a few scattered clouds, and very similar weather is expected here, taking it right on through really the rest of the week. Now, overnight lows will fall down into the mid-50s-ish. That's what we're looking at for tomorrow morning. And then the temperatures will quickly warm with some sunshine there. It may take a little while for those the fog and the clouds to kind of leave us. So look for a bit of a mix at times during the day, but high temperatures are going to get well up into the 70s and may even peak around 80 degrees. That's what we can look for tomorrow. So we've got really a warmer than normal weather pattern as we look ahead by about 10 degrees when you look at our actual high temperature for the day and what we would normally expect. So our highs are going to be running really between 80 and 85 throughout much of this week. Maybe rain late in the week or early next week, but as we do look ahead, all those rain chances really do lean toward the low side.
The Werner Kia Tallahassee 500 is back, and it is bigger than ever. Rebate discounts up to $15,000. Rates as low as 0%. No payments for up to 6 months. Werner Kia is the #1 volume Kia dealer in Tallahassee year after year. The all-new Telluride and K4 hatchbacks are here. Reserve your test drive today. Nobody beats a Werner Kia deal. Nobody. It's Werner Kia Tallahassee 500. Visit us at wernerkia.com.
At Fox 49 News, the stories that matter start with you. If you see breaking news, you spot a problem, or you have info the public should know, let us know. Call our tip line at 850-893-0202 or email us at news@fox49.com. Giving back to a man who gave Tallahassee so much. The honor for Dave Lang, a man who served our community for more than 4 decades. For more than 40 years, Dave Lang served the people of Leon County in the Clerk of Court's office. Now Tallahassee is giving back to him. Today, the city recognized the longtime public servant's contributions by renaming part of East Jefferson Street in his honor. Fox 49's Courtney Dualaby has our story.
While his name now marks a downtown street, those who know him say his true legacy can be found in the lives he's influenced. This morning, family, friends, and community leaders gathered outside the courthouse to celebrate a man many say helped shape Leon County for decades.
I'm going to drive down Monroe Street and turn 5 times on Daddy Street before I do what I got to do. So yes, we're so proud of it, and it's going to be so awesome. And just to leave this legacy for him is like very special to all of us, and touches our hearts.
Lang began working in county government in 1959 and later served as clerk of court, modernizing the office and leading it through historic moments.
I love my community, I love its people, and I love the opportunity to have served in an elected position.
Even in retirement, Lang continues sharing his passion for local history.
I especially love when we go on history tours with him, and we do at our church. We're a part of a community that take communion to homebound people, and we take communion to Mr. Lang some Sundays, and that's really special.
Lang says the honor is meaningful, but giving back is more important to him.
I put over 40 years of my life in this building over here for the public good, and I hope that what I've done over there will be a lasting effect on this city for many years to come. I'm a giver and not a taker. Today, I'm a taker.
Dave Lang Street now runs through downtown, a lasting tribute to decades of service. I'm Courtney DeWallaby, your Fox 49 News.
Doesn't that warm your heart? Before serving in county government, Lang served his country in the U.S. Army before retiring as a lieutenant colonel. Thank you, Mr. Lang. And we'll be right back. Stick with us. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Please come back and join us tomorrow night on Fox 49 News at 10.